And we're back. So to finish my thought, yes, they have a very sexy romp. All of their hidden desires for each other, the cat and mouse that play game they've been playing, they're able to kind of come together, only to realize that he's not leaving. Antoine, our perfume entrepreneur, perfumer, I guess, um, decides that he wants to invest in such a talented young chef like Gabrielle, and decides to foot the bill for his restaurant idea with the same restaurant that he had already been in. So he takes him up on that offer, which obviously feels very insulting to his girlfriend. So he's able to stay. And that puts things into a very sticky situation because Emily is still very much friends with Camille. And so knowing that they've broken up, but she's still good friends with Camille. Knowing the secret that now she's hiding, that she slept with her boyfriend or her ex or whatever because they were on a break, doesn't justify them still hooking up. And she was getting her own sexy thing on, Emily, with our designer Pierre's hot nephew, who I believe runs most of his, business affairs. Matthew, honestly, played by Charles Martins. He has a very British accent, and which I love because there's so many instances of different languages. Even our Sylvie knows Spanish, French, Italian. So I love that. And yeah, it seems like she was hitting it off with Matthew, and he wants to have a nice, wonderful getaway to Saint Tropez, and we get to see these different parts of Paris. It's not just the traditional Eiffel Tower like a lot of movies and TV shows only show us. So we get to see a different side, and they go by train, only to find out that Emily is still grasping with her guilt and tells Gabrielle that it just can't, that she's willing to stifle whatever feelings that she's going through just for the fact that she's good friends with Camille, and she realizes what they had done was wrong. Matil hears it and says he's out because he's like, I'm not gonna go and have a getaway with somebody who's not even in love with me. Accepted a trip, but was promised or had feelings for another, so that ends very abruptly. She goes to Saint Tropez. She invites her witty friend of Mindy and Camille. She needed a buffer so that she won't feel guilty in confessing to Camille that she had slept with her ex or soon to be ex or whatever, Gabrielle. And Camille's just going through heartbreak and trying to just get over it, so she tries to have sex with somebody else. And basically, Emily plays, a buffer between that desire because she thinks the best way to grasp or deal with her guilt is to have these two come back together and obviously omit that she has slept with her man. And in their trip, Camille is at Saint Tropez and realizes that one of the restaurants that she's staying at, or the hotel connected to the restaurant, is owned by dun, 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 Sylvie's husband. I mean, I think they were separated years prior, but they still have a sexy romp the French way. And Sylvie's in her own threesome with Antoine, having feelings for Antoine, getting over Antoine. We also see how sexually liberated she is, too. The amounts of gifts that she receives from Antoine. And I like that. I like that they're willing to explore that just because women are a certain age, does that mean that they're no longer sexual beings and that, everything goes out the window when it comes to satisfaction. So, but you have to watch that. I won't ruin that for you guys. Yeah, so she's on the beach having, some serious flirty session with the owner of this restaurant so that Emily can find out that the owner is her husband. Nonetheless, oh, we also find out that yes, it's illegal to work on weekends in France, and that it's not, a thing like it is in the United States. The fashion and the clothes per episode, très magnifique, and let's add the fact that she wants to do this incredible, lavish dinner for her birthday, but she doesn't have the room for it because even though her apartment has a beautiful view of Paris, it's a shoebox. So she has this nice dinner table presented outside for her and her guests. And then we realize that the the telling card here that everybody's been trying to avoid, the pink elephant in the room, is discovered by a simple iron cast pan that Gabrielle gifts or had gifted Emily, thinking that he was leaving. And Camille is very familiar with that pan because she knew that, I mean, how many times did he cook for her after their sexy romps? And she noticed that he has initials on them. Now Emily omitted that when Camille was in her apartment before the dinner, and said, "Oh no, that's like something that somebody else had given to her." So as she wanted to do her cheers, her birthday ceremonial cheer, and tells Camille to go get the champagne in the fridge, she discovers that that was the same pan Gabriel had. Gabrielle had it in his kitchen and in his possession, and then she realizes, because she had ran into Matthew, and also it was like, oh, that was pretty messed up what you did to my girl. You just kind of leave her flat. What now all of a sudden she bores you. So she was being one of those good friends and defending Emily when Matthew tells her like, oh no, you got it all wrong. Your girl had a hookup, and that's why I bailed on her, and so I let her go by herself. And then she pieces it together and realizes that yes, that Emily has slept with Gabrielle. Nonetheless, and in the meantime, we also see that our Mindy is, getting progressively more known. Unfortunately, it's getting attached to the damn video that, where she flopped on that TV show when she croaked just because of stage fright. And then as she's getting closer to her bandmates, she realizes that also one of her bandmates has a major crush on her. That develops into a relationship, but she omits too that she is a well-to-do heiress. She's an heiress to this zipper king from China, her father. But she admits, is like, he cut me off. I'm trying to make it on my own, so I am essentially a starving artist, because her boyfriend explodes and has an issue with her not telling him all of the information. And then the bandmate that kind of was the one that spilled her tea because he was talking to his supposed cousin, who is a journalist, and let all the tea out and the whereabouts of who she was and where she is and that she's in his band. So then it was all over the place. So it seemed like they were just going to break up. It was going to be a very Fleetwood Mac situation. That's why you don't date bandmates. But somehow they are able to work it out. They have this gig in this supper club. And it seems really busy at the beginning. But once she starts singing, it kind of quiets down. And at this point, Emily is doing her best to still dominate the French language, and in her ESL, no, it's not ESL, sorry, because English is not her second language. But in her French class, she's trying, she has to engage with fellow students who are learning, and she comes across our Alfie character, who is played by Lucien Laviscount. Gorgeous man. I mean, like, and his English accent too on the show. I think he's British, but I'm not 100% sure. Gorgeous. And Alfie too. I mean, I don't know if they did that on purpose, because it reminds me of that. I think it was like a 1960s film about a cat named Alfie from the UK, and then there was an updated version of an updated version, I think in what, 2006 with Jude Law. Either sense, I suggest for you to see both films. I mean, I think the contemporary version is a little less harsher than the original one, but nonetheless, two great movies. And I don't know if they did that. That was like, you know, tongue in cheek or done on purpose, on the nose of calling him Alfie of all things. And he is a bit of a cad on the show, but he really is very much into Emily, and then stumbles upon the fact that there's a sticky situation because of Luke, who is has too much loose lips in that office, and then spills her tea and tells Alfie all the information about what happened between Camille and Gabrielle and herself. And he says, she deserves a good guy like you. She's a good girl. And then he realizes, like, what's going on here? I didn't come here, or, I only came here to learn French. I've kind of fallen head over heels for you. And I don't want to be now part of a threesome or foursome or whatnot. She tells him it's over. She swears it's over. Now she has also Kate, our Madeline, played by Kate Walsh, come from the States. She's all prego. Poor lady can barely walk. But she needs to see what's going on, if Emily's presence has really been helping Savoy. She has a culture clash with Sylvie. They're going back and forth. This is not kosher. And she insists on working with another designer who had issues with Pierre. There's a whole episode on that. I won't spoil it for you. But nonetheless, Pierre, and again, this is what we're talking about, cultural sensitivity. You have to be mindful. Just because you're from the States, does that mean that you can just, brutally come in with your way of thinking and then expect for people to, roll over and, be submissive? So somehow they're able to work with this other fashion designer who's a bit on the volatile side, but nonetheless he has a gorgeous fashion show, very reminiscent of RuPaul's Drag Race, something gorgeous Marie Antoinette-esque. And Pierre goes and in support, somehow is able to kind of have his arm bend and go, be a good player, teammate, but then realizes that they've really gone out of their way to pull all the stops for this fashion show, and he just thinks that he deserves more because of his longevity in the fashion game, that he deserves more. So he says he's willing to walk. He wants to leave Savoy for another company. So after courting him and trying to have him as a client, he walks. But then again, the culture clash and the issues that because I feel that we're talking about two headstrong women, you could see that there's like a power tug of war between both of them, Sylvie and Madeline. And Sylvie walks, especially when Madeline finds out of Antoine's affairs and that basically he's been a long time client with a discount because he had been sleeping with Sylvie, and that Sylvie also had been sleeping with the photographer that they use for these events, promotional events. So Madeline does not like her tactics, and was gonna like really lay on the hammer when Sylvie says, you know what, I don't need this, and I'm gonna walk. And she takes a portion, I believe her husband's portion, because he had shares in the company. He sells them to her, and then she has collateral so that she can start her own company. Now Emily now is caught between a rock and a hard place because she's there because of Madeline, and she loves Madeline, because of all the help that she's given to her career. But she's also kind of oddly grown attached to Sylvie and Luke and Julien and the rest of the company. And so she's kind of given this position of like, well, which side are you going to choose? Because if you stay with Madeline, it'll be her, ways of conducting business, but Sylvie, will have her own. And they genuinely like her ideas, and so Sylvie is gracious enough to provide her an opportunity to come join her. And that her stay wouldn't be just for a year. It would probably be maybe for the rest of her working career. So she doesn't know if that's exactly where she wants to go, and I think she does realize that, that that's something to take into consideration. And Mindy puts it best. Our fabulous, fashionable friend puts it best. It's like you have to kind of realize and pull yourself out of the situation. We're not talking about a year anymore, a fun year in Paris. We're talking about your life, the rest of your life. And just as she's about to, go for it, and even go for it with Gabriel, because she had mentioned that's the reason why they could never work out, was because she didn't see much longevity there. She runs to him to tell him what's going on, that she's going to stay there. She wants to make it work. When she realizes that Gabrielle opens the door, he decided to move in with Camille because he thought that she was moving on with Alfie. She was bawling, and now she's in one of these beautiful scenes from Paris, Bridges, and she calls Sylvie to kind of give her decision on what she's going to do. And we end there. So that's the best summation I can make of season 1 and season 2. Again, it's a success because Darren Star really is a gem. He really knows how to write for television. It's COVID free. You're not thinking about the worries that we're dealing with. So it is a great escape for a lot of us who enjoy entertainment on that level. It's not too serious, not meant to be taken too serious. Every episode is about 30 minutes apiece. I liked it. I didn't want to like it. I'll be one of those, I'm one of those not super snobs when it comes to my TV programming, but I did like it. There were some elements of it that I liked, and that pulls at the nostalgia strings, and the fact that there's a multi-ethnic cast. Now, what I would love to see, some future point, maybe bring in some more melanin, more Latinas, maybe a Spanish lady, but I wouldn't mind a Latin American lady. Let's diversify a little bit better, a little bit more. Not better because, again, they know how to write. I'll say they know how to write for people of color on the show. Because Julian, he's hysterical. And Alfie, gorgeous. So, I do recommend it. It is on Netflix right now, season 1 and season 2. If you like what you've seen, give us a like, give us a share. If you'd like to follow my videos, please hit the subscription button and the notification button so you can be alerted of my next video. I can't wait. I have to catch up on Pam and Tommy. It's been a really interesting season, y'all. So with that, I will say... This is Edith Piaf, La Vie en Rose, the classic. Who hasn't heard this song? As I finish my croissant and my Nutella chocolate. We're very French, oui. I'm loving it, y'all. So stay tuned for my next review. XOXO, Nerdy Girl.